Sarah Kelley, and this is POCCA TV. Thanks for joining us today. We are going to be talking about updates on the herbicide issue here. Our local utility Eversource is spraying herbicides on our power lines, and it's up to us to protect our land. We're in a park today where little puppies and children roam, and hopefully we will stop this insane situation happening above our aquifer. For more information about herbicides being sprayed on power lines here on Cape Cod, please go to POCCA CapeCod.org. That stands for Protect Our Cape Cod Aquifer, because it's up to us to do just that. We have to protect our drinking water for our children and all the animals and all the trees here. So I have a couple of little documents here that are really important, because what I'm finding, going to the abutters' houses, I'm asking for their easements, which is on their deed of their land, and the easements state that Eversource is allowed to maintain vegetation on their property underneath the power lines. And all the easements that I've personally read, there's not one that says with the use of herbicides on it. This easement is in 1971, and it says, together with the right to trim, cut, or remove such trees or underbrush in the judgment of the company. And so, again, it really gets me to realize that, herbicides haven't been, even stated in our easements. We'll just leave it at that. Something like this, a pine, scrub pine, will be targeted. Also, oaks will be sprayed, but nothing over 12 feet will be allowed herbicidal applications. So that's why they did the mass clear cutting in towns to get everything down. And then a year later, they go through and they do the herbicidal applications. So how fascinating is it that I have not seen one easement state the use of herbicides, which would be an MDAR situation, and this is of course on Eversource's priority. It's their responsibility. And that's something that I've done in the past, right, is gone out and hand pruned with a couple of towns on town-owned land. So you absolutely can get with your town departments and prune on your town-owned land. But as far as private land goes, the homeowners can prune and have landscape companies come and prune. But, such as myself, I can't just walk down the power lines pruning away. It's illegal, because this is land that's through an easement made it so Eversource is to have this responsibility. Oh, and this is the paperwork of what the judge sent us and his decision declining us the stopping from the bridges to Provincetown, but also allowing the 3 abutters to not be sprayed this year. So for abutters, please do call the company that got in touch with you. And, a little card in your door like Lewis Trees or VCS, they should exempt you from herbicidal applications. If you call them yourself, the homeowners can call and say, do not spray this address this year, and they should, they'll say, okay, we'll take you off the list. We don't know if those dots are getting connected, but still try. Do your best to protect your land, and tell your neighbors, because they will just stop right on your borderline. So protect your neighbors as well. And thank you for reaching out and helping. It's up to us to protect our drinking water here on the Cape, and we have the ability to do just that. I found a pro bono lawyer, thanks to attorney Bruce Taub for coming forward and helping out in this matter. He's been just brilliant with his intuition and his knowledge. And Considering the lack of testing done in this situation, it should be, obvious to a judge as well. The testing was done in 1978 by the manufacturers themselves. This is what the EPA is reliant on, that the state, Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources depends upon, that Eversource is allowed to go forward on. So it's a little bit of a, chain of events here from the federal level. We're here on ground level saying every single selectman on the Cape, all 15 towns, does not want this to happen. So I've been diligent in knocking on the doors of abutters the last couple of months, and asked a few abutters if they would join myself and the lawyer in court, to take Eversource to court. 3 abutters we have chosen out of 20 some odd people willing. And we went to the Barnstable Superior Courthouse a couple of weeks ago and had summoned Eversource plus their 3 working companies, landscape companies. Eversource did show up with their lawyer, and it was an ask to stop herbicides completely across the Cape. The judge's result was giving exemption to the 3 abutters, and so we feel it was a success. And we're now going forward asking the towns to get involved. If abutters can be exempt, we're hoping per town there could be exemption as well. So last week I met with the Orleans Board of Selectmen, and they didn't say no. They gave us another meeting. Thank you. 2 nights ago, Wellfleet Board of Selectmen were very interested in learning more and what they can do to help. And they said if this is the way to stop Eversource from spraying in their town, then yes, they will take Eversource to court. Monday night is a Brewster. We'll be speaking to the Brewster Board of Selectmen, and Wednesday night this week, Eastham Board of Selectmen. So we're really hoping to move forward on this issue. As we all know, the Cape doesn't want this happening. It's a classic case of a community against a utility. Regardless, through all our education, documents, paperwork, they still move forward. So we continue to push on as well. We really believe that this will be a direction that will make a difference. So we want to thank the boards of selectmen for stepping up in this matter. Your citizens don't want this, and you're doing the right thing. Thank you.
Okay. Laura Kelley, who is with the POCCA Cape Cod, would like to speak about the Eversource injunction.
Thank you. Hello. Good evening. Can you hear me okay? My name is Laura Kelley. I live on Massasoit Road. I am a director.
I might also say your time will be limited to 3 minutes.
Oh,
if you could.
Can I talk really fast then? I live off of Massasoit Road. I'm the director of POCCA That stands for Protect Our Cape Cod Aquifer, because it's up to us to do just that. I want to thank this board. Last time I was in front of you, you were part of a collective of all 15 Cape Cod towns to write a resolution against Eversource for spraying herbicides on our power lines. That went to MDAR, and it did not stop and prevent this from happening. Today, they sprayed just south of Arnold's, so they're here working on our land. And what we're doing is trying to prevent this from happening. 13 towns will be sprayed this year. 9 towns were sprayed last year. 8 towns the year before. They're on the VMP, the Vegetation Management Plan, which is 5 years. POCCA is grateful for donations given. This allowed 3 abutters to go to Superior Court on October 1st. Our lawyer, Bruce Taub,
present here, I hope, he didn't leave the else, has been a strong voice in this with all of our concerns. Our ask is for the East Ham Board of Selectmen to take Eversource to court. With our knowledge and experience, considering the World Health Organization has stated that glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, is a probable carcinogen, the New England Journal of Medicine backs this up. POCCA seeks more abutters willing to get involved, and we're also seeking more funding so we can go as far as we possibly can. Our Senator Dan Wolf has a bill number S.478 at the State House. This bill states that the towns would be allowed to choose what type of vegetation management plan they would like to have, where Eversource then must abide. We're really hoping and pushing for that to pass, but in the meantime, it's up to us to protect our natural resources here, our drinking water, our shellfish beds, and on and on. Like I said earlier, they're in our town right now. If there's anything that we can do to prevent this from happening, there is no threat to our electrical source because they came through last year and did a mass clear cutting, which they do in order to come the year after to do herbicidal applications. Please take this in high consideration. I'd like to introduce you to Attorney Bruce Tall, who's from Orleans, and he is the mastermind behind all of this, willing to work with the towns and abutters in hopes to stop this. Bruce Tall, are you here?
Unfortunately, Bruce, we're not going to have time for some comments. We will take this under advisement. We will bring it back to another public meeting. Well, I'm not sure. Okay, 3 minutes, Bruce. Go ahead.
The regulations are vague. The MDAR would like you to believe that the regulations are specific, but in my opinion, they're vague. For example, they say you can't spray within 50 feet of certain water bodies, but we know that the single source aquifer on the Cape is always within 50 feet of the surface. When MDAR says lateral, that means lateral, but when MDAR doesn't specify lateral, it means that they're spraying directly into the single source aquifer in breach of their own regulations. We brought the suit in front of the Superior Court. We sought an injunction. We lost on the injunction. The balance of harms convinced the judge that the Eversource would be more likely damaged than individual abutters would. My hope is that a town would join in this lawsuit or bring its own lawsuit. I don't expect the Board of Selectmen to make this decision absent consultation with town council, but it's my belief that it is possible to stop Eversource through the courts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I want to be respectful of this issue. Really, I do. It's been an issue that Eastham has been behind you for a long time. I just don't know that, as you said, without talking to our council, and we do have a meeting on Wednesday with our council, and we could bring it up there.
Would you please allow that to happen and allow us to come forward again and come and let's make some decisions on this. It's happening right now. We need your help. We're here to ask for help. Thank
Okay. Is everybody in agreement that we could do that and get back to it as soon as we can? Thank you.
So it turns out I had this little theory. It was actually maybe more of a saying. I remember once telling Bruce, my lawyer, that there's a distance of 50 feet where Eversource cannot spray within public wells and 100 feet within private wells. And so it turns out that my common sense was like, you know, this is topography of the land going this way. What about this way? This is the direction that, you know, gravity happens, right? So in just conversation, because Bruce has been doing this for a couple of months and I've been doing this for 7 years, because he's a little paralegal, just trying to throw him information once in a while, and through discussion this came up. And there was no reply, and I said it again, and there was kind of, not an answer. I'll tell you, by the third time, I just kind of threw out this little theory of mine. He said, I have found something to back that up. And I'll be telling you that was the first thing in court that he happened to talk about. He says if it is illegal this way to spray herbicides 50 feet and 100 feet to drinking water, why not this way and this way? And got it in the newspapers. It was one of our greatest standings with the judge, and it made it really hard for the judge to make a decision. He said he needed more time, and it took about a week. I think it was Thursday to Wednesday, 6 days for the judge to get a decision back to us about this topic, because it's a complicated topic, obviously. And so I think it's called like the Kelley theory now. It's got a little name to it, but we're really hoping that it makes sense, that it turns out to be, strong enough to grip and hold on to and move forward with. So we'll see if this situation can grow to protect our drinking water. It's our greatest natural resource here. And, in the meeting with the Wellfleet Board of Selectmen, people in the audience get to speak, and there was discussion about testing of wells. And something that I've always thought is, if we test for wells before and during and such, of the spraying on all this, that's costly, and we're not scientists, and hopefully Silent Spring will be able to do something in time on that topic. We've asked that of them for the last 5 years, and they have not. But regardless, if it comes up in our drinking water positive, it's too late. I do not want to wait for that to happen. We must use precautionary principles prior to waiting for it to come up in our drinking water. Then our health, of course, will change, and then our, property values change here. People won't vacation here. Everything changes if it's actually in our drinking water. So waiting for testing is just not on my to-do list, and I hope that's respectfully understood, people in Wellfleet and beyond. But that being said, feel free to, because if we can't stop this along the way and it boils down to that's what we, get to wait on, then here we go. There's a percentage, 0.0007% or something. If it's there's a limit. Don't quote me on that, but there's a limit of of it being too much and not allowed. And then what happens? The boards of selectmen need to give us drinking water. It won't go in the hands of Eversource. Eversource will never be held accountable for our health or our drinking water. Do you realize it's been a year since Claire Berg from the horse farm in Harwich was harmed the last time the applications were happening?
20 feet of my horses, and they weren't spraying the ground, they were spraying straight out. And 15-mile-per-hour winds were blowing this chemical into my horse farm. Okay? That put my horses in danger, it put me in danger. I instantly got a migraine, I have a rash all over my torso.
Because I think there's such a credibility issue at this point relative to whether our state agencies are doing their jobs, that I would like to see the Board of Selectmen on behalf of the citizens of Harwich. And just as background, I live very close to Seahorse Farm. I've lived in the same house in North Harwich now for 28 years. All of my daughters actually took riding lessons at Seahorse Farm, so I'm very familiar with the property and with the neighborhood. I think now it is time for the Board of Selectmen to respectfully ask the Commonwealth to ask a much higher level of accountability out of the utility. And in this case, I think that the utility should be required to discuss with each town alternative methods, because I don't think there's going to be credibility. I think we could get the state to guarantee till the cows come home that they're going to monitor, that they're going to hold accountable, that they're going to do enforcement actions. And I'm an elected official who supposedly represents the Commonwealth and our community, and I don't even believe that that's going to happen. And my belief is that at this point, we should be asking as a community that the utility be forced to come and discuss alternative methods, including a budget, and give the town the option to ask the community if it wants to rally around using alternative methods in our neighborhoods and our backyards.
We can get to report and when it will be forthcoming. The legislative liaison, Dan Burgess, emailed and said we should have the investigation report, because you initiated a request for that by the end of the week, was the answer. Now, is DEP contracted by MDAR to do the chemical testing? Perhaps. I know that DEP has a sophisticated lab operation. I'm not sure what the operation of what the lab facilities are that MDAR has. In hearing this tonight, one of the things that we as a delegation, and it's not just Dan and myself, but this is a delegation issue from both sides of the aisle, from the canal all the way out to Provincetown, as we've met with representatives from MDAR, the administration, and NSTAR, is the lack of accountability, and here we have it. We've asked the question till we're blue in the face, who is monitoring these so-called licensed applicators to make sure that they're doing what their permit says that they're supposed to do? And we're told, well, that's what their license is. Of course, they're going to follow what the licensing requirement is. They're all trained and all of that. Clearly here, there is a lack of accountability, and certainly one of the recommendations moving forward will reiterate our recommendation of the past, and that is that there be observers there.
The chemical issue for a minute, it's purely a democratic issue, which is we said we want our land treated a certain way, we should be able to have it treated that way. The question is whether they can do a regulatory change without being a legislative initiative, and that's what we're talking to the department about, because if they can change the regulation without legislation, that would be the easiest way. And the regulatory change should be that they'd be required, prior to a management plan being approved, to meet with the towns and give the towns an opportunity to suggest alternative methods. And the whole issue of payment has to be discussed too, because the alternative methods are more expensive. There needs to be a dialogue about how we pay for it.
To us to protect all the little creatures here on Cape Cod, from the animals and the plants and the trees, of course our natural resources. We're at Wiley today, and there's a lot of creatures to think about that we don't see on a daily basis, that it will be completely affected by herbicidal applications if Eversource continues to do this through the years. This year being the third year, and they're working on a 5-year herbicidal spraying plan, vegetation management plan, and it's going to take a toll on plants and animals that we will never see. We will never actually know is happening, but it's going on. So thank you for doing everything you can to step up, to get loud, to call our governor, and to do more research and learn more. Feel free to go to POCCACapeCod.org. That's POCCA CapeCod.org. Thank you very much for doing everything you can to protect the land that we all love for generations to come. So for those of you who are wondering how I keep motivated through time on this topic, and definitely have had some highs and definitely have had some lows. I think to answer that question, I would say for me, it's about continuing to learn. Like the World Health Organization just came out this summer saying that Roundup is a probable carcinogen. It's things like that that continue to give me hope that the mission that we're on is the right thing to do. That in time, hopefully the dots will be connected sooner than later. But in time, these laws will change. Also, it was the New England Journal of Medicine that came out stating also that these herbicides are not healthy for humans and animals, other living creatures as well. So these are things that continue to drive me. And we are in the right direction, and the selectmen are willing to work with us, and we did find a pro bono lawyer and abutters willing to speak up. So we're in the right direction. Now I feel a wave more than ever that we're riding, and we've created good energy. And the more people that can get involved, that will reach out to me to get involved, the better. I really believe that it'll be a power in numbers that will prevail kind of a situation. So don't hesitate to contact Laura Kelley at POCCACapeCod.org. Thank you very much for watching POCCA TV. Eversource. Don't spray herbicides on our power lines on Cape Cod in Barnstable County or Dukes County. Thank you. They're going to be applying September 1st to December 31st, but it's really a shame. It's where, you know, kids play and people roam. Herbicides shouldn't be allowed. They're not safe.